Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to occupy all of Gaza. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Tuesday, August 5th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. In a statement released by his office yesterday, Netanyahu said he would convene his security cabinet this week. He indicated that he would be seeking the full takeover of Gaza. Israel says it already controls more than 75% of the Palestinian territory. The majority of Gaza's more than 2 million people now live in tent encampments in the southern part of the enclave, and mass starvation has taken hold under an Israeli blockade of food. The Israeli military has mostly refrained from operating where it thinks Israeli hostages are being held. But Netanyahu's new plans would change that, and that has the families of hostages worried. Senior security officials in Israel have repeatedly insisted that Israel has already achieved its military objectives in Gaza. That's according to Israeli media accounts. But nevertheless, Netanyahu is under pressure from his far-right cabinet ministers not to end the war. Number 2 is a Post exclusive. There is fresh infighting in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's team. Yesterday, the Post reported that a top aide to Hegseth tried to oust a senior White House liaison from the Pentagon. Ricky Berea is Hegseth's acting chief of staff, and Matthew McNitt coordinates personnel policy. And it seems the two men had a scrap last week. It appeared to be rooted in Berea's frustration with pushback from the White House as he has attempted to fill positions in Hegseth's office. Adding to the drama, the White House has refused to let Berea take over the powerful chief of staff job on a permanent basis. Officials at the White House are said to have intervened when Berea tried to get rid of McNitt. They effectively blocked the move. Texas House Republicans voted to issue civil arrest warrants for dozens of Democrats. That's number 3. I told you yesterday that many Texas Democrats had left the state in an attempt to delay a Republican effort to redraw the congressional map. At President Trump's urging, Republicans want to give themselves 5 more safely red seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. The situation escalated yesterday as Republicans in the state legislature voted to issue civil arrest warrants for their Democratic colleagues. Here's Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows.
To be absolutely clear, leaving the state does not stop this House from doing its work. It only delays it. And every day this chamber is unable to act, the cost grows.
Democrats seem to be undeterred by the move. State Representative Ann Johnson had this to say on MSNBC's Morning Joe yesterday.
And so as Texas Democrats, we are breaking quorum. And this is actually the most important thing that I can do as a public official because it's protected by the founding fathers out of our Texas Constitution that says when the minority party knows the majority has gone off the rails and is corrupting the system against the interest of the people, this is your last tool.
Officials will have difficulty arresting the Democrats because most of them are currently in Chicago. That's beyond the jurisdiction of Texas authorities. Number 4. The U.S. will require some foreign visitors to pay bonds of up to $15,000 for entry. This month, the State Department is set to start running a pilot program. It would require some foreign travelers to pay for a reimbursable visa fee. It's supposed to deter people from staying in the U.S. longer than they're allowed to for business or tourism. Many details are still unclear, including exactly which countries would be targeted. But officials said it will be aimed at nations with high rates of visa overstay. Several countries in Africa, as well as Haiti, Myanmar, and Yemen, had some of the highest overstay rates recently. People from countries that participate in the visa waiver program would not be required to post the visa bonds. That exempts travelers from 42 countries, including much of Europe, Australia, Taiwan, and Israel. Number 5. Los Angeles County has a meager budget to respond to disasters. Los Angeles County is the most populated county in the U.S., and it's at high risk for disasters including earthquakes and major wildfires, like those that destroyed entire neighborhoods in January. But documents seen by the Post show that the county only has a paltry budget for its office that manages natural disasters, major emergencies, and other hazards like cyber attacks. Operating finances for the county's Office of Emergency Management were only about $15 million in a budget sheet last year. That's shockingly low, especially when compared with similar major municipalities. For example, the emergency management budget for Manhattan is about $88 million. And the Office of Cook County in Illinois, which includes Chicago, had more than $130 million in funding for fiscal year 2025. And LA County is no stranger to catastrophes. It has declared 74 disasters over the past 20 years. Number 6. One gene may be a clue to why humans thrived and Neanderthals didn't. Tens of thousands of years ago, human beings lived alongside our closest hominid cousins, the Neanderthals. The two species were nearly identical at the genetic level and even interbred, which explains my husband. But in a study published yesterday, scientists scrutinized one gene that sets us apart. They found that a particular gene found in humans causes a subtle change in brain chemistry. When that change was introduced into mice, it made them better at seeking out water. That could be a clue about the rise of humans. But don't get too excited because it's not a definitive answer. And at number 7, scientists said they figured out what's turning 6 starfish into goo. Over the past decade, an unknown wasting disease has killed billions of starfish, reducing them to puddles of goo. It has destroyed ecosystems along the Pacific coast from Alaska to Baja California in Mexico. Fewer starfish has led to a surge in their food, which is sea urchins. Those urchins have mowed through strands of kelp that are needed to help sequester carbon and guard against coastal erosion. So scientists really want to figure out what is causing this disease. In a study published yesterday, researchers said they think they figured out the culprit. They think the disease is caused by a bacterial cousin of the pathogen behind cholera. Other scientists are skeptical of the finding. But if the new research is right, it could help plans to breed disease-resistant starfish and restore their critical ecosystems. All right, you're all caught up. For your next listen, check out the latest episode of Post Reports. It's about the Trump administration's drastic efforts to reduce the federal government and the 154,000 federal workers who are now being paid not to work. Find Post Reports wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll meet you back here tomorrow.
Yeah, before you what? You want to come at me with scissors? Come here. Stand up. Take your scissors, please. He's coming at me like he's going to cut me. Sit down, Alyssa. Sit down.
Tennessee inmate to be executed despite ethical health concerns. This article is by Emily Cochran and read by an automated voice. Tennessee is scheduled on Tuesday morning to execute a prisoner who has a heart implant, even as the case has raised ethical concerns that lethal injection without turning off the implant may result in a torturous death. Lawyers for the prisoner, Byron Black, who was convicted in 1989 of killing his one-time girlfriend and her 2 young daughters, had already argued that Mr. Black's intellectual disability should exempt him from the death penalty. But the fact that his heart implant, which functions as both a pacemaker and a defibrillator, will continue to operate during his execution, has added another ethical quandary. Mr. Black's lawyers and some medical experts have warned that the device may shock him repeatedly as the lethal drug is injected. That's purposes at odds, said Arthur Kaplan, a top bioethicist at the New York University Grossman School of Medicine. They're trying to make this guy die, and you have technology attached that's trying to keep him alive. Given that Mr. Black is intellectually disabled and has dementia, Dr. Kaplan added, Mr. Black may not understand what is going on beyond the searing pain of repeated shocks. Mr. Black, 69, is scheduled to die by lethal injection at 10 a.m. on Tuesday at the Riverbend Maximum Security Institution in Nashville. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday refused to intervene in the case, rejecting 4 separate petitions. Shortly after, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, a Republican, said he would not approve Mr. Black's request for clemency. The courts have universally determined that it is lawful to carry out the jury's sentence of execution, Mr. Lee said in a statement. Mr. Black has been on death row for more than 35 years after a jury found him guilty of the brutal 1988 murders of his one-time girlfriend, Angela Clay, and her 2 young daughters, Lakeisha, 6, and Latoya, 9. He was sentenced to death for one daughter's death. Mr. Black has maintained his innocence, but his appeals have repeatedly been denied. Our office will continue fighting to seek justice for the Clay family and to hold Black accountable for his horrific crimes, said Jonathan Skrmetti, the Tennessee Attorney General, in a statement released after the latest ruling by the Tennessee Supreme Court last month. He cited testimony from an expert witness called by the state that refutes the suggestion that Black would suffer severe pain if executed. In an interview with the local TV station WKRN last month, Lynette Bell, Miss Clay's sister, asked, "What about the pain he left them suffering in?" Polls have shown that a narrow majority of Americans, 53%, favor the death penalty, but that they overwhelmingly oppose it for those who have an intellectual disability or struggle with mental illness. Mr. Black, his lawyers said, will be the first intellectually disabled prisoner executed since the 1970s, when the death penalty became a legal option again in Tennessee. Mr. Black was first scheduled for execution in 2022, but it was delayed after an investigation was opened into why the state did not properly test its lethal injection drugs. He is also among the inmates who have sued Tennessee over its new injection procedure, which was put in place this year. In a letter to Governor Lee asking that he commute the sentence to life in prison, Mr. Black's legal team outlined not only his current health problems, but also the documentation surrounding Mr. Black's intellectual disability. The letter said that he had never scored higher than 70 on an IQ test, that he repeated second grade at a segregated elementary school in Nashville, and that he struggled as a child to learn simple games or to remember to do basic chores. During an evaluation this year, he could not make change for a $5 bill. He now uses a wheelchair. If convicted today, Mr. Black would not be eligible for the death penalty under the current clinical standards. But because his legal team challenged whether his intellectual disability made him ineligible under the previous standards, the state courts refused to revisit his case and apply the new standards. It is a violation of the law and the Constitution to execute him, said Kelly Henry, chief of the Capitol Habeas Unit at the Federal Public Defender's Office in Nashville. And, she added, if they're going to execute him, they don't have the right to torture him. Mr. Black has had a heart implant in place since 2024 because of heart failure and heightened cardiac risk. In the case of lethal drug injection, the device may prevent his heart from slowing down and then begin shocking the heart, something that might be repeated over and over. Ms. Henry, in one legal document, warned that it would be, quote, a grotesque spectacle, one that would cause Mr. Black, quote, extreme pain and distress, and weigh on the conscience of the witnesses. The implant would have to be deactivated by a medical professional, but Nashville General Hospital, which did not respond to a request for comment, told Tennessee officials that staff members would not willingly assist in the deactivation of the device, according to court documents. The Tennessee Supreme Court said late last month that the execution could proceed without medical intervention. Kitty Bennett contributed research.